Okay, hi everyone. So this is a follow-up tutorial from our 3D modeling that we did in, I think, like tutorial 2, where I just want to start to add in a bit more of the detail of the gallery. And this is more like if you want to get into like making a realistic looking image for a proposal or something like that. If I pop in here and I'll just put my roof back in, then bring back my images, you'll kind of see that the roof here is dramatically different to the roof here. And I don't think it will take us too much to make this look a little bit more accurate. So I'm just going to do a little bit more 3D modeling, and I'll see if I can work out a relatively simple way to do the fireplace as well. And I think that'll kind of bring us up to speed with having an accurate enough 3D reconstruction of the gallery. Then you can kind of, focus on your artwork. All right, so let's get started. I noticed in the floor plan, if I just drag this over, that we've got these markers of pillars here. And I'm just taking a guess, I'm not an architect, but I'm taking a guess that the pillars might line up with where these structural beams are, these sort of concrete beams going across here. That we've got the fake wall here in front, which is the wall here, and then we've got behind that the real wall, and I'm just going to use these as a guess to where these large beams are. So that's how I'm going to sort of interpret the information we have to try to get some more of the accurate modeling of this roof into our 3D reconstruction. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go into my model. I'm going to look from the top, and I'm going to turn on my floor plan and go into wireframe mode. And I'm going to hide a few things that we're not using at the moment to just simplify things. I'll hide my lights and cameras. I'll hide my artworks. That's already good. So, okay, I'm going to just make some new geometry here. I'm going to Shift A, add a cube, and there's that cube, and I'll just start making one of these pillars. So I think immediately I'll just scale it down here, and what we actually want, just for argument's sake, I can make it the same width, but we're not going to see any of this. I've just gone into wireframe view, vertex select, drag selected that, GY to make that the correct length. But what we're actually going to do is, if we look from the front, this pillar, we're going to lift it up, and let's just take another look at the floor plan. I'm going to take a guess here. I'm going to treat the height that we have for our roof as the bottom of these pillars. I think we had this measurement for the roof of 3 point something meters on one of the other floor plans. Let me just check that. Do I have that somewhere handy? Where did I see that written down? Height 3.38 meters. I'm going to guess that the 3.38 meters is to here. I think that feels about right, because I think that's what we've got in our model. I think we've got the 3.38. If I just use this as a measuring stick quickly. Yeah, that's what we've got already. So I think the 3.38 probably is just to the top of, if I turn my lights back on, you'll see what I mean. I think that's just to the top of the beams, because obviously the height of the roof, if we compare visually what we've got, I'll just move my floor plan away, clearly the height of the roof is higher than what we have here. So let's just go with that guess. So I'm going to put the bottom of the pillar at that 3.38, and I'm going to guess that height. Now this is pure guesswork. I'm going to guess that that's like, I don't know, 45 centimeters, I guess. So let's just make that 0.45, and I'll maybe 0.5. And going to turn my snapping on and just snap it to the bottom of my roof, which is here. And that also means I may as well just, I'm going to click on my roof here, and I'm just going to raise up my roof now to the height of my pillar. And I'm just going to now click on the pillar. Oh, my lights are turned on. I'll just go from here into material preview, turn off my lights. That's fine. Now here's my first pillar, and I'm going to go into edit mode, drag select the vertex is here on the left, and I'll just GX and oh sorry, GY and snap them all the way across. Okay, let's just look from the top. I'm just going to bring that pillar in where we can see it somewhere, like here, and see how that looks. And I'll just duplicate, oops, turn off my snapping, sorry. I'm just going to quickly duplicate some in and just get a quick eyeball, see what it looks like, and compare it to my reference image. That will do for now. We can always come back and change things. I think we're going to need to lower our lighting just a little bit, because I think there's a little bit more of a gap there. But let's go with that for now. Like I'm looking there and there, and I think it kind of is going to look okay. I can zoom out a little bit and maybe match my camera angle a little bit better. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, so let's just tidy things up a bit. I'm going to be a little bit more methodical with putting in these pillars. I'm going to place the first one. And I'm going to just check where it is. It's gone into my lights. That was the last collection I had open. Let's make sure it's in the, let's make a new folder, perhaps. And new collection, and call it ceiling architecture. And I'll just put that whole collection inside my architecture. And I'll just call this, I don't know, like, what's the word? It's not a pillar, it's a, I don't know, ceiling beam 1, something like that. And now I'll just start duplicating with a little bit more care. Shift D, GX, left click. So Shift D, left click, GX, left click. And I'm just really lining them up with what's in my floor plan here. Shift D, left click, GX, left click, Shift D, left click, GX, left click, Shift D, left click, GX, left click, and I think I've said that enough times. I think you know what I'm doing. Okay. Make sure I've got all of my pillars. Someone could always, next time you're at the gallery, you could check if this guess that these pillars equal the pillars on the ceiling. Total guess, but it kind of looks pretty similar to what's going on inside the gallery. So, okay, so there's our pillars. And the next thing we have to do, I'm just going to go back into solid mode, is probably need to close off our roof here. There's a few ways I can do this. I'm just going to have a quick look. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do a few little tricky things. All right. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to press T and N to bring up my tools and transforms. I'm going to do a loop cut here, and I'm going to turn on my snapping. And I'm going to snap my loop cut to the inside of the wall. Oops, sorry, that should be GY, and snap the loop cut there. One more cut, and GY, and I'm going to do the same here. Snap it here, GY. Whoops. Sorry, that should be GX, lol. That should be GX to snap here. You can probably guess what I'm doing. I'm just going to close off my roof so we don't have this light coming in from outside, which makes it look like we've got some very nice windows there, but those windows unfortunately don't exist. So now that I've just added that extra geometry to my building, I'm going to go into face select mode. I will just press the / button or question mark to isolate select, go into edit mode, face select, and I'm just going to left click to select, then shift option, or shift to select, and then hold down shift and shift option. Shift and option can kind of select the faces in between, but you can just see which, either holding down shift or holding down shift and option, whichever kind of gets you the selection you want. Actually, it wasn't a good idea there. I've selected faces I don't want. Let me just do that again. I'm just going to click on these, make sure I don't get any faces I don't want. Okay, and I'll just go into wireframe mode to triple check. There's no additional faces I don't want. Good. Okay, so now I'll just go to press my question mark button to bring back the rest of my scene. Turn off my snapping. E for extrude, Z for Z axis. And here it's not, that Z command hasn't registered, so I'm just going to press Z again to make sure I'm only snapping on one axis. Z, and then I'm just going to turn on my snapping, GZ, bring that down. Now that's closed things off, but we've got this overlapping geometry here with our pillars, or our beams. What I think might actually look cool is we're going to leave a tiny little gap in between our beams and the wall, just because, all architecture, unless you're the world's best craftsperson, there's always little gaps, and I think little gaps make things look kind of realistic. So I'm going to select all my beams. First thing I'll do is object set origin to geometry. So now the center of all of these beams is in the center of the beams. The orange dots are in the center of the actual geometry. Now what I can do, what's the easiest way to look inside here? Yeah, we can just look down the orthographic view here, go into wireframe view, and basically we want to scale it on the y-axis, turn off my snapping, so that we're just a little bit inside this line here. So scale Y, I'll bring it a little bit closer, and I just wanted to have it just a tiny bit off, because all I want to do is make a nice little shadowy gap thing. And if I just click here, yeah, got that little shadowy gap, which I think makes it look a little more accurate. And yeah, that looks not too bad. Okay, next thing, let's lower our lights a little bit. I think they're too close. So those here, that's our light instances. So what we should be able to do is, I'm just going to do this visually, looking at my scene, and I might even put my reference image to the side so I can see it. Yeah, well, let's just drop it down. So I've got my two instances here, shift select them both, and now if I press GZ, we should be able to just lower the lighting track to something that looks maybe a tiny bit more, that looks kind of how it should. Now, maybe that's a little bit too low. I'm just going to go into edit wireframe mode, maybe something like that. Okay, what next? We've got these little threaded rods that are suspending the lighting track to the ceiling. Let's just quickly make that little detail. Should add a bit of realism. I'll go into my shaded view. I'm going to hide my roof so I can see what I'm doing. I'll look from the top. I'll go to my instancer, and I actually need to see it. So I'm going to turn it on in the viewport, press, turn on my viewport overlays, hide my floor plan. I don't need that anymore. And here is that first instancer. Remember, we started down here. So I'm just going to add a little cylinder. So I'm going to press, first of all, Shift S and put my 3D cursor on what is selected. So I add my cylinder in the same place. Shift A, add mesh, cylinder. Oh, that's not a cylinder. Cylinder, here we go. Scale it down. Something, I think they're pretty thin. something probably like that. We can even check the dimensions. Those threaded rods are probably about maybe 2 centimeters wide, so we can make all of these 0.02. It's probably fine. Then the Z is probably going to be at least 0.5, like half a meter high. And I think they go all the way up to the roof. So we can just do that here. It's going to go from here, GZ, turn my snapping back on and just GZ snap it onto my lighting track, and then just check that it's going to go all the way up to the roof. I think it needs to go up a little bit higher. In this case, I'll just reveal my roof, go into wireframe, press tab, grab all these vertexes, and I'll just snap them GZ up to the top. And then, because I like these little gaps, I'm just going to drop it down a tiny bit and do the same here. I might just lift this up just the tiniest bit. Okay, now I'm just going to, in object mode, put the center of the object origin to geometry. Just because I did that scaling in edit mode, when I moved this up, it means the center's kind of in the wrong place. So that's why I just set the origin back to the geometry, and I'm going to apply the scale. And I guess I have no idea how frequently these little poles are there. We could probably just start with an array. Let's just keep things simple. And I'm just going to guess this time. Add an array. It should be going out on the x-axis. And this time we've got to turn the factor up, because we don't want them to be spaced like just one next to the other. We want a nice big gap. And I'll show you what's happening here. If I hide the roof, we're just making a whole bunch of them. The issue with this is because we've got even spacing, every now and then we're going to bump into our pillars. So I'm just going to play with the spacing until that's no longer the case. If that's possible. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe we're always going to bump into one. Are we bumping into one? Maybe that's it. Nope, that one is going through the pillar. And then that one's going to go through the pillar. Okay. I want to keep things reasonably simple. How about that? Nope. Okay, so it looks like we... Can I get it? Last try. That'll do. That'll do. None of them are going through the pillar. And I can just turn that number up a little bit, it looks like. Great. Okay, that'll do. All right. So then I'm just going to duplicate the entire array. So let's... Oh, I didn't name it. And it's... So let's call this like light track fixtures. Oh, technically they're threaded rods. Let's do that so I know exactly what they are, because there's other types of fixtures. And then I'll just make, I guess, a second array. And this time it's going to be moving on the y-axis. And we'll just move it down. You can only just see it on my screen. If I go here, you can see it better. I'll just move it down till it's over the lighting track in the other direction. Yep. And to be kind of clever, what we could do, these might not be in the exact same position on either side. And just to make it look a little organic, we could even just move it a tiny bit on the x-axis, just for fun. We could, whoop, that's not a tiny bit, 0.01. We could do that, just so they're a little bit uneven. Why not? Okay, so now we've got our lighting track, and we've got our the rods that are holding up the lighting track. Okay, now the other thing we have is this gigantic air conditioning vent. So let's make it, but let's kind of keep it simple, huh? Okay, so that air conditioning vent I don't have on the floor plan, but it also reminds me that because of that air conditioning vent, that lighting track is much further to the left than I have mine. Let's just have a look. I'm just going to hide my beams. And yeah, here's my lighting track. I'm way out. So I'm just going to select the whole thing, look from the top, and G, Y, and move it over that way a bit. And in fact, let's just, yeah, you know what we might need to do is, this is why arrays are super convenient. This one, this here, I'm just going to, nope, that's the wrong one. Here I'm going to drop this from 4 to 3. And then here I'm going to change this offset so that that lines up a bit. Like that. So now we've just got less lights on our track. And now moving it over should be a little bit more reasonable in relation to like what's going on at the gallery. And now if I turn on my ceiling architecture again, these threaded rods, I think they should be in this collection, and they're probably in the wrong place now. Where did I just put them? Lightning track threaded rods, put them in the light tube. Okay, so here, and if I go to wireframe, yeah, they're here. So I'll put the first row in the correct place, GY, just move those down. Whoops. Accidentally pressed H, which hid them, which doesn't help. Okay, GY, move that down, and then change the offset of this second modifier. So this is why modifiers are great, that if you accidentally put everything in the wrong place, you can just really quickly change your modifiers without having to change however many, I don't know, 18 different objects. We just change one object. Okay, cool. What next? Oh, right, the air conditioning. I'm going to pop out into the layout editor, and I'm going to hide my ceiling beams because they're a little distracting. I'll go into top view, and I'll add Shift A cube, and I'll G for grab. I'm just going to eyeball this, kind of put it there. That size looks okay. I'm going to press N to look at my dimensions, and I'm just going to make it 50 centimeters high, which is sort of looks a little bit closer, and it kind of looks like it's like the same height as the lighting track. So I'll look down the axis and turn on my snapping with Shift Tab, and then GZ, turn off my snapping, GZ, turn it back on, and just snap it to the bottom of the lighting track. That looks okay. Let's go back into solid mode. Now, when you're 3D modeling objects, there's so many different ways to get to like something that does the job. I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick guess of, you know, it's not like a focus. It's just something in the background. So I'll just make something up, and we'll see how well it works. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make these bits that stick out. So I'll go into my loop cut, and I'll just cut one here. Oh, I need to turn off my snapping. Cut one here, maybe two, scale it on the x-axis, and bring it across, GX. You know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to make sort of a little thing that's got one of these things and then the ribbed bits, and then I'm going to delete everything else. So if I come back over here, it'll be something like that. Then I'll go into face select 3. I'll go E and just drag out my mouse along the y-axis, something like that. Then I'm going to delete these extra faces, delete faces, and I'm going to fill that hole, go into edge select mode, select the edges, F for fill. Then I'm just going to make the ribbed bits here. I'll click loop cut, and I'll just put these up something like that. Well, should look fine. Go back into select mode, press 3 to go into face select, And now I'm going to isolate select this by pressing slash or question mark, look down the y-axis, go into wireframe, edit mode, and I'm just going to quickly select every second one. I'm holding shift and I'm doing select box because I want to get all of the faces all around. Something like that. Whoop, missed it. And again, you know, I'm not doing a really accurate model of this air conditioning thing, just something that's like, okay. Okay, so I'll go back into solid mode. I'm going to press E for extrude and then just left click straight away. And I'm going to scale on the Z axis a little bit and scale on the Y axis a little bit. There's our little ribbed bits. Now I think this should work. If I add a modifier and go subdivision surface, yes, that's what we want. It doesn't look like it, but this is what's going to work. I'll turn it up one more. And so that's basically rounding off our shape where it'll round it off more the less divisions there are to round off. So all we need to do to make this less curved is add a couple more loop cuts, which we'll call like holding edges. So if I cut here and then I go G, Y, I'm in edit mode at the moment, you can see the closer I move that edge loop, it softens that curve. So I don't know, something like that. Another one here, GY, bring it back this way. Something like that. And then one here as well. And that one's going to need to come quite close to the end because that one is kind of flatter. Something like that. And then I think the only thing I missed is I'm going to go back to select, press 3 for face select, and I want to grab these faces, and I think they need to go G, X, and just be a little longer. That's kind of how that thing looks to me. Ooh, I think I've missed a face here, that's why it looks weird. That face, yep. Oh, and that one. Then G, X, something like that, and I might just add a couple more loop cuts here, or even that looks much closer to sort of what this thing looks like, and maybe even one here if I G, Y. What we're doing here is called like subsurface modeling, where we're using a subdivision surface and then we're just using edge loops to sort of get these shapes roughly where we want them. It's not like exactly the same as these AC units, but it'll be pretty close. So now I'm just going to apply the scale, and I'll leave that subdivision surface modifier there, and I'll add, you guessed it, an array modifier. Who knows as if I might need to add another loop cut to make that join a little firmer. So I'll just add that and then press G and X just so I can make that a bit more of a straight line. Still not great. Why is that such a big curvy distance? Maybe I need to do something like that and GZ and bring that up. Let's just have a look from here. Yeah, so it's a little bit squarer at the top. Is that? Yeah, that'll be good enough for now. If it's not exactly how you want it, you can always change this later. That's the lovely thing about these arrays, is that you only have to change the first one. So let's go back. I'll press backslash to get back into to reveal everything else, and I'm just gonna, I don't know that we have photos showing us where this air conditioning system goes. I'm just going to assume it goes up through the whole room. I don't know. At a guess. Add this up, however many we need. I don't know. That'll do. Okay, that's probably, let's just have a look. I just want to check how we're looking with our lighting and putting our roof back in and seeing how everything looks. So I'll reveal our roof. Looks like we might have a little bit of light bleed. Let's just render an image and just see where we're up to. Oh, I need to recalculate my bake. I've probably got some strange light things going on there. So remember that from the last tutorial, because we have baked lights from our irradiance volume, we need to go into the volume and bake the light cache again, because we've moved a bunch of stuff around. Also, we might need to check where our area light is, just in case it's, you know, we move the roof around and stuff. It might be in a weird spot. So let's just look down the x-axis. So let's look here, grab my area light and just check where it's up to. So I want to make sure it's not stuck in any geometry or anything. So actually, I'm just going to quickly go into my volume here, delete my lighting cache, make sure I'm in rendered mode here, and I want to make sure that area light is not like stuck inside something. And I want to make sure it's on top of where the, oh yeah, because I moved my lights. So let's just scale on the y-axis. GY. Yeah, because we can't have lights coming from behind the air conditioning system. That would make no sense. Yeah, okay, that should... now let's just look at our light instances and the track thread rods. I'm just going to bring them all down a little bit like that. I think that might make a little bit more sense. Scale, y-axis, bring it down, GY. And then we might have to look at what height I have on my spotlights, and just to check they're not sitting behind the air conditioning system, which they are. So all the spotlights will need to come lower. Just grab them all, and they probably need to be lower, GZ, which might mean their angles, oh, I've missed one. Their angles might need to change a little bit too. GZ. Yeah, that looks better, because when they're up here before, you can see they've all disappeared here. It's because they're hidden inside the air conditioning system. That's why things were looking a bit strange. Okay, that's looking much better. Okay, so let's render that again. Okay, hey, I think that's looking much, much better. The air conditioning system, you know, there's probably we can probably do a better job. Let's just quickly, I'll rebake that irradiance volume, see if that gets some improvement. Let's view our render, go into slot, oh, we're in slot 6, let's go slot 7, and render image. See what difference that makes. So I'll press J, oh, hold on, Alt J, Command J, Control J. How do I go back to slot 6? Okay, so that's without the lighting bake. That's with the lighting bake. Yeah, okay. We probably need to put a shader on the AC units, and they could probably be fixed up a little bit. This bit here doesn't look quite right. If we go back to our reference image, the shape isn't quite right, and also they have the same sort of off-white yellowy paint. And we could also put some of these little, you know, knobs on there. We can do that to our original before we put the array on. You know, I might just really quickly dive in to my air conditioning system and isolate select, turn off the array, view frame selected, to focus on it, and go into edit mode, and I'm just going to add one more loop cut, I think, down lower. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. I can press GZ, I can make it even, yeah, I think something like that might look a little better. Turn my array back on. I think that looks a little bit closer. If I press backslash, and so let's just go into our shading and put the right shader on it. So the shader we have on the walls is called procedural drywall. I'll just put that on it. Just type in P, there it is. And I'll do the same for my beams. All of these, I can shift select them, and we can do this trick of shift selecting the wall and just press Command L and link materials. So now if I just look in my animation editor, and let's go into our render, view our render, go to slot 8, and this should look even better. Oh, I just need to quickly redo my lights again. Rebake my lights so we get those shadows around the beams. And let's see what we get. Render image. Yeah, not too bad at all. Okay, I think it's starting to look a lot more like the gallery space there. Definitely getting pretty good to use as a reference for your work. Let's just really quickly do a version of the fireplace. Okay, so let's have a look at the fireplace. I'm not sure that I'll do it like as beautifully as it's done here, but let's just get something that's sort of the right shape, and I'm not sure if I'll do all of the details in here, but we'll get it basically somewhere in the ballpark. So again, I'll just hide a bunch of stuff. I'll look from the top. I'm going to hide my lights in my. Let's go back to the layout. We don't need to be looking at a render for this. Look from the top. Hide our ceiling architecture. We don't need to see that. Hide our roof. Oh, and looks like I forgot to label the air conditioner. I'll just call it AC, and I'll put that in ceiling architecture. And where are these? Oh, they're in architecture extras. Okay, I'm going to put those light tubes in ceiling architecture, just so that when I want to hide things properly, I can. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's all hidden. That's good. And I'm going to save. I haven't saved for a while. Save. And let's reveal the floor plan. Okay, look from the top. And wireframe view. And we can see where our fireplace is. I think I started a little fireplace here, called it Fireplace. So let's finish it. Now, you can actually see here the rest of the fireplace behind the wall, but because of this fake wall, our fireplace, and you can see it in the photos, it's sort of blocked off, right? So we've got a funny thing here, but we can use that, and we can do an operation that kind of will get us the wall at the right spot. Okay, so fireplace. I'm going to edit mode, go into 1 for vertex selection. Oh, I've still got my loop cut turned on. Whoops, I just got to undo that loop cut. Go into my selection tool, check I didn't, yep, I didn't do any cuts, I didn't mean to, that's good. And I just want to check, we're definitely working on a separate object, yes, good. Okay, so I've just added a cube here. If you don't have one there, you can just add a cube and get it the right size. And then go into wireframe mode, edit mode, and what's the best way to do this? I'm going to press GY, going to come back here, then I'm going to do a loop cut here, GX, bring it over here, another one here, GX, bring it over here, and go into shaded mode. Okay, it's hidden behind the door at the moment. I might just have to hide my walls for a moment. Okay, now the height of the fireplace is one measurement we might not actually have. I don't know off the top of my head. That looks like maybe 110 centimeters at a guess. I'm going to make that 1.1, 1.1, scale 1.1, good. And then turn my snapping on, and I'll snap it to the bottom of the floor. GZ, good. And I'm going to go into face selection mode, turn off my snapping, turn off my loop cut tool, grab these two faces, and now if I go back to the top, go into my wireframe, I'm going to E for extrude, I'm going to extrude them out to make that first little bit of fireplace. Okay, what else do we have I'm going to use a combination of the floor plan and the photograph of the fireplace. and see what that kind of tells us. Okay, so we've got this like sort of platform area there, which is here. So, you know what, we can just quickly make a separate object. I think that's fine here. So I'm going to go into solid mode, select this, put my cursor where the object is, Shift S, cursor to selected, add another cube, look from the top, go into wireframe mode, and I'm just going to scale it down, GZ, and, oops, sorry, GY, move it into, represent the front of the fireplace, go into edit mode, 1 for vertex, and I'll just GY, bring that down. Now I'm just going to do an operation called bevel here. So I go into edge select mode, select this edge and this edge. I'm just going to apply the scale first, apply scale, and choose my bevel tool. And bevel tool, if you click it, it does that. Okay, so I'm going to look from the top, go into wireframe. I'm going to see if I can bevel it to match. It's pretty close. And then I can turn off my bevel, and I can always just go into vertex select and just, you know, drag things to match. It's a bit of a wonky floor plan because it looks like this is not really, these are not really in line. I can do that and GY. Actually, no, yeah, no, that's fine. It was not a wonky floor plan. It was just me. But the back of the fireplace, yeah, look, that might be a windowsill. That might not even be the fireplace. Doesn't matter. We'll just bring this in here. Now, the height of this, I'm going to take a guess. It looks like it's about, from top to bottom, 8 centimeters. So let's make that 0.08. Go into solid mode. Turn on our snapping. Snap it to base. That looks pretty good. And it's got one more bevel. Let's go into edit mode, edge select, select these edges, and let's give it that last bevel. Well, actually, let's just apply the scale first again. Apply, scale. The beveling tool often bevels relative to scale, so it's good to do your scale first just so it bevels properly. And there, look, that's not too bad. The final thing is this fireplace should be sort of closed at the top. You know, I could have done this in a smarter way. Maybe I'm going to just fix that up now. Yeah, all right. I've changed my mind. And every time I'm 3D modeling something, you sort of get halfway through it, and then you go, "Oh, I could do this. I could do this a better way." And that's exactly how I'm feeling. So I'm just going to go into edge select mode and going to select 1, 2, 3 edge. Press F for fill, and going to select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Going to bring that down, GZ, like that, and then E. Oh, my snapping's turned on. That still worked. Okay, so now I've sort of got my fireplace. The only thing I've done is I've got some faces in there that I ooh, are they still there? Oh, maybe they're okay. I wasn't sure about that last extrude, if I'm going to end up, I'm going to delete that face. No, that's fine. Okay, cool. Okay, so we got back to the shape we wanted. We've got the base, we've got that. I'm not going to bother with all that decorative stuff in there. You can do it if you like. It's, you know, you can work it out. Or if you can't, I can make another tutorial, but I don't want these things to go on forever. So I'm just going to do a last, just some simple stuff. I'll grab the top bits here, turn off my snapping, E for extrude, left click, S for scale, and I might just scale it on the y-axis a little bit, then GZ, move it up just to get that little lip there. I'll do that. I'll do a little bit more. GZ, down, scale it, E, scale it up, and then S, scale it again just to get a little bit more of that curve. How much more detail to go to? Maybe I could do a tiny little loop cut here, bring it down, and maybe a little bevel might just, oh, little bevel, little hole. Okay, turns out my geometry wasn't quite right. Left a hole here, let's just fill that. F for fill. Now grab these, and I'm just going to do a little bevel here, see how that looks. Absolutely terrible. Apply my scale, try that again. Still looks terrible. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, I just paused the video for a second because I was having this weird problem with my bevel, and I just wanted to work out what it was. I was trying to do this and just bevel it to the fireplace, but I was getting this really wacky result and I couldn't work out what it was. It just took me a second to work it out, but I thought I'd include the solution. Okay, first thing I checked was my scale, but that's applied, my rotation is applied, but I went into here and I looked at face orientation. And that tells us if we've got any backwards faces. And in our model, we've got a bunch. Looks like my doors are all flipped backwards, maybe because of my booleans or something like that. But here, you know, just something the way I did my extrusion before, Blender thinks that that face, the red one, is the inside. Thinks that, you know, red is inside, purple is outside, but it's flipped. So to fix that's pretty easy. Just go into edit mode, face selection, select all faces by pressing A, and then mesh, normals, recalculate outside. So now that is no longer red. And so I'll just turn this face orientation off. And now if I go into edge selection and grab my faces and just do this extrude, it's functioning the way it should. So yeah, that was a bit weird, but I mean, not my extrude, my bevel, but yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd just add that. It gets us a little bit closer to the real fireplace, and I think that is more than enough. So I'm going to leave the fireplace. Oh, I'm going to be a little OCD. I'm going to add that little square there because it'll drive me nuts otherwise. The square is not on the floor plan, but let's just Shift A, add a cube, scale it. It seems to be kind of the width of that. GY, bring it out. It's super thin, so let's make it 0.005 centimeters. Really thin, and let's just drop it down so that it's just sticking out, something like that. There we go. Okay, so now let's just add it all back together. I'm going to put all of these in a new group collection and call it Fireplace. All my caps lock is on. Fireplace. Cool. And yeah, we could even just do a little Boolean trick if we want. How many fireplaces are there? Let's just look from the top. 1, 2, 3 of these things. So I'm just going to duplicate this. Let me think about that. Yeah, I'll just quickly Boolean union this thing together. So I've got fireplace here. I'm just going to add a Boolean. A Boolean is like a true or false mathematical operation. In this case, we use it here to cut the holes in the windows. Here I'm going to use it to make all of these one object. So I'll go union and I'll join it to here. And then I will Shift D, make another Boolean union, but instead join it to here. Okay, so now that we've Booleaned this fireplace together, I'm just going to apply. Well, actually, let me undo that. I'll just call this one Fireplace Original, if I can spell original. And I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'll just call this one Fireplace. I'm just going to keep the original one in case we want to go back and make it a bit better. But with this one, I'm going to apply the modifiers, and then I'm just going to duplicate it across my model. Go into wireframe made, Shift D, GX, Shift D, RZ minus 90, which should make it the correct orientation. Is that right? No, I rotated the wrong way. RZ 180. Look from the top. Wireframe, just pop it in there. And Shift D, R180, and GX, bring it to the other end. GX. And now let's just have a quick look and bring back our our walls and just see if we're sort of in the right territory here. I think we are, because that, you know, they're sort of sitting into the walls like that. This one should go a bit more, probably something like there. And then the last thing we can do, depending on what we need to do in our rendering, especially if we're doing any animation, you can always just Boolean these onto the walls just to avoid any overlapping polygons. So we could just do a Boolean union and select the fireplace and make sure we've got three more of these, so 4 in total, and we just select each fireplace. So I grab this one, select that, grab this one, select that, grab this one, select that, and that's it. And now we can actually turn off our fireplace group because we're just Booleaning them in into our wall. Okay, so let's take a look at where we've ended up, because I think this will be the end of the tutorial. Let's go back into our animation tab. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to bring my lights back in, turn on in my architecture, turn on my ceiling architecture, and make sure everything there is on. The light tubes are on. We've got the AC happening. We've got the fireplaces. Turn the roof back on. And then finally look in my lights. Turn on the volume. Rebake the lights. And we should be pretty good. There's lots more details I haven't added in. I haven't put in the PowerPoints or, all sorts of other little things, but I'll leave that to you. I think we're already getting in a pretty good place. So let's just view our render and grab an empty slot, render image, and let's see what we've ended up with. Yeah, not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. Like, it's an empty space. It's not yet doesn't have any artwork in it, but I think now if you start to put the artwork in, which is really the focus, you're going to end up with some pretty good stuff. Even that floor texture, the more detail we start to add, the less we notice that the floor texture is not quite right. But you can see once we've got that ceiling detail in, we really start to kind of believe the space. And if you can put in all this tubing and all sorts of stuff, but I think that's in a pretty good place already. So I'll stop the recording here and I'll see you all in class. Okay, bye-bye.